In this video, we're going to take a look at another cool microphone that has double connection and a possibility to connect it to your liking in terms of XLR connectivity and USB Type-C, and of course it has an RGB lights as well to give that some special shine or to basically just plant it in your setup the way you like it. This is Fifine AmpliGame AM8 XLR and Type-C microphone that has loads of options right here with two knobs and RGB lights as well. And we have a stand that comes in quite handy, which is somewhat modular, but we'll get to that part later on. So what's it all about with this microphone? And basically, what do you get inside the box? You get a microphone and you get USB Type-A to USB Type-C cable, which is fairly long and it will suffice for a connection from your PC to your table stand where it's supposed to be. Now, of course, there is an option to place it on a microphone arm, such as I have right here, which gives you an option to just unwind the bottom part as it is, and then you have two different threads to adjust and to attach it to an arm that you actually have or you want to buy. So it's quite cool to, let's see, this is how you do it basically. I would say fairly easy, no-brainer. Now, you can also do one more thing, and you can adjust the angle of the microphone on the original stand. Basically, even if you put it on an arm, you can do this as well. You just have to unwind the thumb screws on the side and you get the possibility to rotate even for 360, which is quite cool because on some microphones that have this option, you can't rotate it 360 because one side of the microphone is a bit too longer, so it starts bouncing on the edge of the stand. But that's another thing for another story. So let's go through the microphone and check out what we got. On the front side, when we remove windscreen, we have a microphone capsule, which is a dynamic microphone element with cardioid polar pattern. We have the flocking windscreen, which offers maximum protection for plosive breathe noise. So basically, if you breathe heavily or something like that, it should block it quite nicely. They also suggest to use the original windscreen and not swap it up just because for better audio recording. Then what we have is the mute button, which is basically on the other side of the microphone, and it's not an actual button, but it kind of just works with a tap. So tap to mute or unmute the microphone. If the indicator lights green, the microphone is active, and of course if it lights red, the microphone is muted. And then we have the RGB button, so you can tap to select modes or colors, or if you press it long enough, the RGB turns either on or off, depending on the situation what it was before. After that, we have a microphone gain knob, which controls the sensitivity of the microphone capsule. Then we have the headphone volume control, which controls the sound in the real-time monitoring. At the bottom of the microphone, we have the RGB light strip that lights in multicolor RGBs, and you have a couple of effects, so dynamic RGB flowing, breathing gradient, and static single color light effects. At the bottom, we have the headphone jack, so a 3.5mm stereo jack for connecting your headphones. Then we have the Type-C port connection to connect your microphone directly to your computer or PS4 and PS5. Then the XLR port, which is connected to your sound card, mixer or audio interface that actually supports XLR cables. And finally we have the stand. I already went through that one, so I don't have to mention anything about that except for the bottom part, which is completely, let's say, not rubberized, but it has a grip additionally, so when you place it on the table it can't move that easily, which is good, which is really good. Now, when we're talking about the RGB lights and RGB modes, I mentioned the modes, but the RGB lights for the static single color, we go from orange, yellow, green, cyan, blue, purple and white. Now the ideal distance from the microphone is 2 to 6 inches. So basically when you're starting to record, it should be around something like this, I would say, not further away, because then the audio recording wouldn't be as good quality as it should be, even though some microphones can catch a bit further voice. But then if you have an echo in your room, you might need to adjust something in the software to remove the echoing and other interference from outer sound coming from somewhere else, I don't know, keyboard or stuff like that. Frequency response is from 50 Hz to 16 kHz. SN ratio is basically above 80 decibels. We have cardioid polar pattern and the type is dynamic, and the bit depth is 16 bit with simple sample rate 44.1 kHz to 48 kHz. So what do you say if we connect the microphone first through the acquired Type-C connection right here that we have? Check out the RGB lights, of course, and see what we got here, and check out the sound, of course, and then connect it to XLR cable and check that out as well. So for the first recording, we're testing out the connectivity through USB Type-C, and as you can see, the RGB, well, the lights are turned on, and at the back you have the option to mute the microphone. As already stated, basically when you tap the back button, I just did that, but regardless of that, it indicates when it's working. So it's green when it's turned on, and it's red when it's muted. On front we have all the options, so let's see. I think, yeah, here we go. I totally didn't crank up the volume. So first of all, now we are on somewhat 75% on the volume gain for the microphone, and I think you noticed already the difference in my sound, in my voice, and the loudness of it. But let's check out. So I'm just doing this so you can basically realize and recognize how the voice is recorded through the microphone. There might be some taps, but I'll try to do them quite gently so it doesn't interfere with the sound recorded through the microphone, because I want to show you this as well. So basically what we got here is the RGB lights, and with the tap of the button you can adjust the lights as they already stated. So first it starts with the RGB spectrum, then you have a couple of more modes, well, basically two, and then you have static lights. So that's it. And when you hold it, it shuts off, and with the same hold, well, basically just holding the finger on the RGB lights, it turns back on. So this was the recording through the Fifine AM8 microphone through the USB Type-C. Now I'll have to connect it to the XLR cable and check that out as well. Okay, so now the microphone is connected through the XLR cable, and I removed the USB Type-C just to see what will happen in terms of, I already encountered the situation where the microphone has USB Type-C and XLR cable and one doesn't work in terms of RGB lights, and it happens here as well. So basically when we connect this microphone through the XLR cable, the RGB lights doesn't work, the tap button for the mute doesn't work as well, the knobs don't work as well when it's connected through XLR. So the only way to adjust the gain, which is kind of logical basically, is through your amplifier or wherever the cable goes to, directly connected to, I don't know, I have my Scarlett over there, so it kind of makes sense that takes over the volume knobs and the adjustment for the microphone and the gain for it. The RGB lights, well, basically, I don't know if it makes any sense for you guys if you want an XLR microphone to actually have additional USB Type-C connection on the microphone, which in some terms, honestly, in my somewhat professional opinion, doesn't make sense. Running two cables for your microphone, honestly, no. But if you don't mind that, it's all up to your personal preferences. I'm more up to, if you're using it with the XLR, logical, you're going to connect it to an amplifier or anything that is suitable for the XLR connection, and you're going to ditch the RGB lights and all the functionalities on the microphone. If you want all of that, you're going to connect it directly to your Type-C cable, and that's basically it. So this was a sample with the XLR cable. I'm going to hear it, listen to it, listen to both of those. So Type C and XLR are going to grab some information about it and come up with a conclusion. Even though it's 1 second for you guys, it was a couple of minutes for me. So I checked out the Type C recording and the XLR recording. Of course, depending on the gain, it will have difference in the volume of the microphone. So for me, XLR volume was a bit lower, but regardless to that, let's talk about quality. So the USB Type-C was really outstanding, and the cool thing is that you can adjust the gain. What I noticed is since the first part of the Type-C recording was gain was adjusted to 50%, and after that I switched it up. Even you noticed it, most likely, that I placed it on 75. So what you basically don't have to do is crank up it to 75. It's all up to your personal preferences, of course. I won't go into that, but placing it up to 75 really boosts it up, and you can go even higher. So it all depends on what are you doing. Are you podcasting, or are you, I don't know, gaming with your friends or streaming or whatever? This is the way to go to adjust it. XLR, it all depends on the gain on your amplifier to actually adjust it to your liking. And depending, are you editing the audio after you finish recording in your software? It also depends. So the audio quality and everything that I mentioned is really outstanding. And when we take into consideration the price and everything all together, it really goes into that terms that Fifine AM8 is really an outstanding. First of all, the design, the sturdiness, the quality, and everything else when we're talking about the visual and the design. Then when we're talking about the connection types, the Type C and XLR, you can really manage whatever you want. You can connect it to PS4, PS5, PC and Mac, which is outstanding as well. You can connect your headset and adjust the volume for them. RGB, if you're into that, you can do that as well. And mute or unmute the microphone just with the tap of the button. Well, just with the tap, not with the button, because it doesn't have an actual button. It's almost like a touch option, as well as for the RGB. So loads of options, and really cool to have something like this. I mean, we are actually talking about a high quality manufacturer for the microphones, so you can expect that coming from the audio recorded from this microphone. That's basically it. I'm satisfied. The price is really okay, and I do have to say that I can't disagree with the price. It's a fair price, and you'll notice that if you click in the link in the description, so you can check out eventually more details, or I don't know, something else that you might find interesting, as well as the price. That'll be all for today, guys. Thanks for watching. Hopefully I'll see you next time, because if you subscribe, hit the like button and notification bell, you'll get notified for the new video. That'll be all for today. See you quite soon. Bye bye.